All right, let's get into it. Today, we're diving deep into the mystery of one of the world's most famous and most elusive flowers. We're talking about the ghost orchid. This thing is so rare, it's basically a legend. It's been in books, movies. Its beauty and the way it just seems to float in the swamps of Florida has really captured people's imaginations for a long, long time. But here's the thing. Behind all that mystique, there's a story of incredible fragility. So, why? Why is this famous flower on the very brink of extinction? To figure that out, we've got to uncover some secrets this plant has been holding on to for centuries. Okay, let's get into it. So first up, let's talk about the enigma itself. What is the ghost orchid and what makes it so special? Okay, so this plant is just a botanical marvel. Seriously, it has no leaves at all. Instead, it has these amazing green roots that do all the photosynthesis, and they just cling to the bark of trees. And because it's leafless and the roots are so well camouflaged, that big white flower looks like it's just floating in midair. You can see why they call it a ghost, right? A true ghost of the swamp. All right, so the first big clue to why this thing is so rare, it all goes back to the very beginning, the seed stage. See, to even start its life, the ghost orchid needs a little help, something it just can't do on its own. Just look at the difference here. A typical seed, think of like an acorn or something. It comes with its own packed lunch. It's got this thing called an endosperm that gives it all the energy it needs to get started. But an orchid seed, nah. It's basically a naked embryo. It's as tiny as a speck of dust, and it has absolutely no food reserves. So that's a huge problem, right? How are you supposed to grow if you're born without any food? So how does it do it? Well, it needs a partner. Most orchids, not just this one, rely on a kind of life support system from tiny microscopic fungi that live in the soil or on tree bark. The fungus basically acts like a personal chef, feeding the seed all the nutrients it needs to sprout and start growing. And that right there, that was the million-dollar question. Which one? Which specific fungus held the key? For decades, nobody knew. And because of that, scientists couldn't grow them to help save the species. To finally crack this code, they had to get out of the swamp and head into the lab. So let's head into the lab with them and see exactly how they played biological matchmaker to finally figure this puzzle out. The whole process was kind of like a detective story. First, they went out and collected a bunch of fungal suspects right from the roots of adult orchids. Then they set up this really careful experiment. The big question: could the seeds make it on their own, or did they absolutely need one of these fungal partners to kickstart their life? And they found it. After all that work, it turned out one specific fungus from the Ceratobasidium family was the perfect match. This was it. This was the biological key they'd been looking for, the secret partner that could finally unlock the ghost orchid's entire life cycle. And look at this. It shows you just how critical that partner really is. The results were, they were staggering. Without the fungus, almost nothing happened, a measly 5% germination rate. But when you added its fungal buddy, that number shot up to over 60%. This was the proof. The fungus wasn't just a nice to have. It was absolutely essential for life to even begin. And what you're seeing here is the result of that breakthrough. A clear, step-by-step roadmap, all the way from a tiny speck of dust to a real living seedling. For the very first time, scientists could actually watch this happen. The biological code was officially cracked. And that blew the doors wide open for conservation. But, solving the biological puzzle, that's really only half the battle. Because this discovery just leads to an even bigger, maybe even tougher question. Okay, so you know how to grow a seedling in a lab. Great. But where can it actually survive out in the wild? To figure that out, scientists got clever. They looked for clues in a related flower, the Mulier orchid. By comparing how it lives in the heart of its territory versus the very edge, a really interesting pattern emerges. A pattern that tells us a whole lot about the ghost orchid's own situation. So check this out. In Florida, which is the absolute northern edge of its range, the mule-ear orchid is an extreme specialist. It is picky. It relies on just one single species of tree to survive. That's it. No plan B. But then you go to Cuba, which is its core habitat, where it's totally in its comfort zone, and it's a completely different story. Down there, it's a generalist. It's not picky at all. It's thriving on more than 90 different kinds of trees in 5 different types of habitats. It's tough, it's adaptable. This table really lays it all out, doesn't it? In its core range, in Cuba, the mule ear is a tough generalist. In Florida, at the edge, it's a fragile specialist. And this is the big lesson for our ghost orchid. It's not just that it's rare, it's that it's living on an ecological knife's edge. It's totally dependent on a perfect and shrinking set of conditions just to hang on.
So here's the bottom line. Even though we have the scientific key to help it grow, the ghost orchid's incredibly fragile home is facing, well, it's a perfect storm of threats.
And these threats are coming from every direction. You've got illegal poaching from collectors who just have to have one. You've got stronger and more intense hurricanes like Hurricane Irma that can knock down its host trees and kill dozens of orchids in one shot. And then you have the slow motion disasters, right? Saltwater creeping in from sea level rise, killing the trees, and wildfires in swamps that are getting drier and drier. Now, all this pressure has led to a pretty big step forward. Conservation groups took legal action, and because of that, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service has now officially proposed listing the orchid under the Endangered Species Act. And that's huge. That would unlock some serious resources and legal protections that are absolutely vital for its survival. So, when you think about it, the story of the ghost orchid is about way more than just one rare flower. It's really a race, isn't it? It's a race between our amazing scientific discoveries and the threats that are closing in on our planet's most fragile places. We've cracked the code for its life. But the real question is, can we solve the ecological puzzle? Can we protect the home where that life and so many others can even exist before we run out of time?